on Śrī Upadeśāmṛta. We have been studying this for quite some time now, and I hope that you all are finding it very useful. We always begin by glorifying the author of this Granth, Śrīla Rupa Goswami, and we take the shelter of his followers, the Rupanugas, because when we fall under that line, Dasa Das Anudas, when we fall in that line of Śrīla Rupa Goswami, then we can understand this subject very clearly. So this prayer has been written, and this is a very beautiful prayer because it discusses how everyone can take shelter of the lotus feet of Śrī Rupa Goswami. Śrīmad Rupa Padabjudilim Alike Nityam Dadeyamana Gratahin Madhupam Mamanayadaho Krishnangri Krishnangrikam Ya Sansara Matanga Janga Madiram Vyasmara Yatsvairasir Yad Gandhano Lavopi Karshati Tito Tarsham Munindran Api. Prabhu, can you read the translation?
I eternally place upon my head on the dust of the lotus feet of Sri Rupa. Ah, even when slightly smelled, that dust has led the bee of my heart to a deep thirst for the lotus feet of Krishna. By its own nectarian relish, it causes one to forget the intoxicating worldly existence. Indeed, even a mere particle of its fragrance attracts the best of sages and fills them with intense desire.
So this wonderful verse is glorifying how when one puts the dust of the lotus feet of Sri Rupa, when we do that, when we take shelter of Sri Rupa Goswami, then Sri Rupa Goswami is like a perfect guru, a perfect acharya. He has no desire internally for us to serve just him for his own selfish reasons. Instead, when we take the shelter of Sri Rupa Goswami, then automatically our heart will also have a deep attraction or thirst for Sri Krishna. And not only us, but even the best amongst all sages in the world will be attracted and filled with intense desire to serve Sri Krishna when they take shelter of Sri Rupa Goswami's lotus feet. That is because this dust or the fragrance from that dust is very intoxicating. So today, this verse fits in perfectly with our discussion today, because today we will study the third and fourth Nama-aparadha. The third Nama-aparadha being guror avajñā. And we will discuss the glories of taking shelter of such a bona fide guru, such as those in the Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. Because many people may hesitate to take shelter of a guru, but when one takes shelter of a bona fide guru, one who is sincerely following Śrī Rupa Goswami, then love for the lotus feet of Śrī Guru will automatically lead to love for the lotus feet of Śrī Krishna. Because when one serves Śrī Guru and when one develops anurag for Guru, then automatically that Guru, because he has no desire for any selfish motive, being like a mirror, he takes the offerings from the disciple and he simply offers them directly to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Because the Guru is directly connected and serving Sri Radha Krishna, then whatever he accepts from the disciple, he serves, he takes that and he uses that in the service of Sri Radha Krishna. So this is why this verse is describing when one takes the takes shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Goswami, then automatically he begins having a deep thirst for the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. So in this way, this verse is very beautiful. So as we continue, we are studying the seventh verse, and we are particularly going into a short mini series of the glories of Harinam. And when understanding the glories of Harinam, we have to understand also the proper way in which one should chant. In doing so, the first consideration is to ensure that we do not commit any aparadha or offenses to the name. So we are studying the 10 Nama-aparādhas, and we have studied the first two, that is satam ninda, disrespecting or criticizing the sadhus who glorify the names of the Lord. And then we also studied on Shivratri the glories of Shivji and how there is binna or abhinna. There is the glories of Lord Shiva and the names of Lord Shiva are both simultaneously different and not independent of Sri Vishnu. So in this way, we have studied that. Now we continue to the third and fourth Nama Aparadha, and that will be described shortly. As we do in each of these classes, we recite the seventh verse each time. In this way, by reciting it multiple times, I hope that devotees are memorizing these verses. Oftentimes, our Gurudev used to say that these verses are our kantahar, are our jewelry or our ornaments. So when we keep these verses in our throats, memorize them and keep them in our throats or necks, then they become like the necklace by which a Vaishnava is decorated. So I request if any devotee would like to recite the verse, they can unmute and attempt to recite the verse. I'm hoping that there are some volunteers this week.
Prabhu, I'd be happy to recite it, but do you mind reciting it once for me just so I can remember the rhythm of it?
Sure. So I'll recite it. Syat Krishna Nama Charitadi Sitapya Vidya Pitto Patapta Rasanasya Narochikanu Kint Adarad Anudinam Khalu Saiva Jushta Swadvikramad Bhavati Tad Gadamula Hantri.
All right. Shri Krishna Nama Charitari Sitapya Vidya Pito Patapta Rasanasya Narochikanu Kintvadarad Anudinam Kalu Seva Justa Svadvikramad Bhavati Tadgadamula Hantri.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you so much, Damodar Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Would anybody else like to recite? Okay.
Hare Krishna, my friend.
Hare Krishna, Didi, Dandavat Pranam. Go ahead.
Syat Krishna Nama Charitadi Sitapya Vidya Pito Patapta Rasanasya Narochikanu Kintvadarat Anudinam Khal Lusaiva Jushta Svadvikramad Bhavati Dad Gadamula Hantri.
Oh, beautiful, Didi. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Okay. So, Damodar Prabhu, can you kindly read the translation?
Aho, the nectarian name, character, pastimes, and activities of Krishna are all transcendently sweet like sugar candy. But the tongue of one afflicted by the jaundice of avidya, beginningless ignorance, cannot taste anything sweet. Instead, these attributes taste bitter to them. But if every day one with great respect chants these sweet names, a natural relish awakens within his tongue, and his disease is gradually destroyed at the root.
Wonderful. So we have heard this translation multiple times now, so we'll continue to move on. And I wanted to highlight one point that we ended on last week, because this point really nicely transitions us to the next Nama-aparādha. So last week we discussed satam ninda, that is criticizing the sadhu. And we discussed how some devotees justify their criticism in various ways. For example, they may feel that, oh, I'm simply pointing out the true fault of a devotee. What's the harm in that? So we understood that that is also not appropriate. Then others may feel that, wait, how will that person get corrected if I don't point out their faults? That was also disputed by Srila Viśvanātha Ṭhākura. Then he gave several examples of how other justifications are made by devotees. And he finally ended with one example, that is the example of the Mahabhagavat. That is someone who is an Uttam Mahabhagavat, Uttam Adhikari. And the Uttam Adhikari or the Mahabhagavat does not take offenses from anyone, because they understand that whatever is coming their way is simply a result of either Bhagavan's mercy or maybe some previous karma of their past. So the Mahabhagavats don't take criticism, even though it still results in the misfortune of those that criticize. So Srila Viśvanātha Ṭhākura ends that section with this statement, and I thought it was such a nice statement and transitioned us nicely into the third Nama Aparadha. So let us understand this part in full. Prabhu, can you read what Srila Viśvanātha Ṭhākura has to say?
Only those saintly persons who are the crest jewels among Mahabhagavats are independent and fully qualified to bestow mercy for a reason that is unknown or even without any reason at all. In this regard, no rules and regulations of any kind, nor any limit or boundary can be applied to them.
So the Mahabhagavat can traverse the entire world, and simply upon the glance on a jiva can bestow their mercy on them. It is said that when a Mahabhagavat even sees someone, he accepts them as their disciple, even if the disciple or even if that jiva does not surrender to them. And at some point, whether in this life or the next, that guru will manifest to them and they will take shelter. This is the glory of a Mahabhagavat. So Srila Viśvanātha Ṭhākura says that they can do so for any reason they want to, or even if there is no reason at all. This is the swatantata, or the independence of a Mahabhagavat. Srila Viśvanātha Ṭhākura describes in Madhurya Kadambini that Bhakti and Bhakti Devi are completely independent and can do as they want. Bhagavan has given Bhakti Devi the energy or the Shakti or the freedom to bestow her mercy on anyone. But Bhakti Devi, in turn, what does she do? She takes the shelter of the Bhakta. Which kind of Bhakta? The Mahabhagavat Bhakta. And she says, "Oh, my dear devotee, oh, dear devotee of the Lord, you have me controlled in your heart, because inside your heart is pure bhakti. And because I have taken shelter of you, I too give you the freedom to bestow bhakti on anyone or everyone." So in this way, the Mahabhagavat is very, very merciful. And some may, for example, we have seen the case of so many of our acharyas, how they gave mercy to so many jivas, even though some of those jivas criticized them. We will learn those examples today. And even though they did that, still some people criticized them, that why did you give mercy to such an unqualified person? Here Srila Viśvanātha Ṭhākura says, the guru, the bona fide guru or the Mahabhagavat can do whatever they like. So, in this regard, he gives 3 examples, and we'll just quickly go over these examples to understand the glory of a bona fide guru and a Mahabhagavat. The first example he gives is Jaḍa. Now, most of devotees know the example of Jaḍa, but quickly, without going into a long history of who Jaḍa was, that Jaḍa originally was Maharaj Bharat, who became attracted to the deer and then became a deer in his next life. Remembering his mistake of not taking shelter of sadhus and also being attracted to the relationship of the deer, he swore that when he appeared in his next life as Jaḍa, he said, "I will no longer take such mundane association and I will not be captured in the trap of Maya or in such association. So Jaḍa Bharat always remained aloof, almost as if he was a avadut, that is, unworried or uncaring for what the world had to think about him. So one day Jaḍa Bharat was traversing in the forest, and the palanquin, or the carriers, and the royal seat of Maharaj Rahugana was passing by at the same time. Just so happened that one of the palanquin carriers became injured, so the other palanquin carriers began to look who can carry the palanquin of Maharaj Rahugana. There, lo and behold, they saw Jaḍa Bharat, and as you can see in this picture, Jaḍa Bharat was a very strong, well-built person, very tall, and very beautiful and handsome figure. So they thought this is an ideal person to carry the king. Now, Jaḍa Bharat, being aloof and avadut, he takes the service of carrying the king, but because he's so concerned about every jiva, seeing that Krishna is present in the heart and in the soul of every jiva, then he avoids stepping on the ants and the various insects that are going on the ground. So he's moving his legs here and there, trying to avoid causing any ahimsa or causing any violence towards any living entity. When he does this, of course, while he's carrying the palanquin, it is shaking left and right, and Maharaj Rahugana becomes upset and disturbed that, hey, do you not understand how to carry a king's palanquin? Don't you know who I am? And then he begins hurling insults to Jaḍa Bharat, criticizing him and doing ninda. Jaḍa Bharat, being a Mahabhagavat, however, does not take this criticism. He takes this criticism for a very short period of time, and his mind becomes disturbed, as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. But then he begins bestowing mercy and instructions on Maharaj Rahugana. And Maharaj Rahugana, understanding his mistake, takes shelter of Jaḍa Bharat, and of course then understands and realizes that he is none other than his own Purvaj, that is his own lineage, Maharaj Bharat, who is the emperor of the entire world. So Jaḍa Bharat, though he does not take the criticism of Maharaj Rahugana to heart, still one should avoid such criticism of a Mahabhagavat, because unless and until one does so, he is committing Nama-aparādha. When Maharaj Rahugana realizes a mistake, just as Srila Viśvanātha Ṭhākura describes to us, the remedy for criticizing a sadhu is to fall at the feet and beg for forgiveness. Similarly, Maharaj Rahugana does such behavior. So this is why Srila Viśvanātha Ṭhākura takes the example of Jaḍa Bharat. Next, he takes the example of Uparicara Vasu, one of the Vasus, that is, one of the residents of the heavenly planets, and who are tasked with various responsibilities. For example, Sri Bhishma Dev, grandfather Bhishma, was originally a Vasu. So one of the Vasus was Uparicara Vasu. Uparicara Vasu was described to be a great devotee of the Lord, always worshipping, even though he was so opulent and a king, he was always worshipping Lord Vishnu. One day, however, the demons began to criticize Uparicara Vasu because he was so dedicated to Lord Vishnu that, there's a long story, but he goes to the hellish planets and begins to perform tapasya and austerity and worship and take shelter of bhakti yoga even in the hellish planets. Now the demons in the hellish planets become disturbed by such a figure because they do not want any glorification of Lord Vishnu to take place. So they go to their guru, Shukracharya, and Shukracharya comes up with a plan and says, if you go to Uparicara Vasu and you begin to yell and scream, there is no God, there is no God, there is only Brahma, that is the impersonal God, then his mind will become disturbed and he will give up the chanting of Lord Vishnu's name. So the demons, they take this advice. They go to that area where Uparicara Vasu is performing his sadhana, And they began shouting such misconceptions. But Uparicara Vasu, being very merciful, he understands, oh, these demons are just ignorant, they are unintelligent. And he begins instructing them on the science of devotional practice. By his grace, all the demons then become devotees. And this is how Uparicara Vasu even takes the holy name, takes it to the hellish planets, and bestows his mercy, and all the demons become bhaktas there. This is why is described the holy name is so merciful that from top to bottom, the highest place in the spiritual world, there is chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, even in the assembly of Śrī Radha and Krishna. And even the holy name is so merciful that it can uplift those even in the hellish planets. This is the example of Uparicara Vasu. And finally, of course, all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas know the example of Śrī Nityānanda Prabhu, and how, even though the offensive behavior of Jagai and Madai, even such that they physically abused him, still Śrī Nityānanda Prabhu bestowed his mercy and bestowed the mercy of the holy name on those two devotees. So in this way, these three examples are given of how a Mahabhagavat, how an Uttam Adhikari Vaishnav will bestow his mercy on every living entity, even though they may commit an aparadha to them. But still, we should not take advantage of such a fact. And therefore, Sri Viśvanātha Chakravartī Ṭhākura and the Padma Puran continue that the third Nama-aparadha is guror avajñā. That is, to disobey the order of the sadhu guru. So when one takes shelter, you see, the disciple willingly takes shelter of the guru. The guru does not force one, at least in a bona fide guru, does not force one to take shelter of him. Only the disciple must inspect the guru, we have discussed this in the past, must also go through a period of quote unquote testing the guru or examining the guru. That is my guru following Shastra? Is he bona fide? Is he completely surrendered? Tasmad Guru Prapadyeta Jigyasu Shreya Uttamam Shabde Parachanishnatam Brahmanya Upashamashayam. That is he following the characteristics of a guru? Then the disciple, understanding that guru is bona fide, willingly takes shelter of that sadhu guru in order to advance in their bhakti. But then, after willingly taking shelter of that guru, if somehow the disciple performs guru avajñā, disobeying the order of that guru, then this is the misfortune of that disciple. So, as we have been doing when we take the shelter of our previous acharyas to understand the details of each Nama-aparadha, we are taking the shelter of two scriptures, Jaiv Dharma and Madhurya Kadambini, in order to understand them in full. So Jaiva Dharma is a conversation between guru and disciple. So the guru is explaining this third Nama-aparadha to his disciple. Prabhu, can you read?
Babaji Maharaj said, "The Śrī Nam Guru is he who awards instructions about the superiority of Nama-tattva, and one's duty is to maintain fixed and resolute bhakti towards him. It is Nama-aparadha to minimize the position of Nam Guru, thinking that he knows only about Nama-shastra, whereas the scholars of Vedanta philosophy and other shastras actually know the meaning of the shastras.
So some disciples feel because that guru whom they took shelter of, that guru who gave them the glories of Harinam, because he may not know thousands of shlokas by heart, or he may not know what page number this shloka fell on. And there may be so many scholars who are very, very well equipped with a nice brain, and they may know so much philosophy, they may be able to quote so many shlokas, etc., that, oh, my guru is not like that. Therefore, yes, he's nice. He keeps talking about the holy name, but he doesn't actually know all the other Shastras. These philosophers and scholars, they know so much. I'm so impressed by their knowledge. But here, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is writing that it is a Nama-aparadha to minimize the position of the person who gives faith in Harinam. Why is that? He continues.
Actually, no guru is superior to the Nama-tattva-vit Guru, and it is an offense to think that he is less important.
Now, why do you think he says that, Damodar Prabhu? Shouldn't
Well, isn't
someone
it?
who knows so much philosophy, now I have framed it like, oh, those people are just scholars, but they studied. They know Vedanta. It's not an ordinary thing. But why is the Nam-tattva-vid, that is the person who gives the holy name, the person who gives faith in the holy name, why is he considered even more superior?
Isn't it so that the essence of all the Vedic scriptures is Nam Tattva and the holy names?
Wonderful. So, if the Nam-tattva-vit Guru is emphasizing the complete essence of all scriptures and may not sit there and dive into each particular scripture, then in reality, he is giving the highest thing. Rather than spending excessive time studying other scriptures which may only just confuse ourselves, he is saying, no, take shelter of the holy name, take shelter of the holy name. So in this way, seeing him as less important is one Nama-aparadha. And now the proper response and the proper mood of his disciple, his name was Vijay in this Jayavadharma, he says the following.
Vijay said, Prabhu, I am assured of well-being if I can maintain pure bhakti towards you.
How simple. If one maintains bhakti, guru nishtha, then he is assured of well-being. Because the guru is also described like the protector of the disciple. And if one takes shelter and is always protected by a bona fide guru, then definitely he is assured of well-being on the path of bhakti. So when we think of guror avajñā, many disciples who are very dedicated to their guru, who have love for their guru, they cannot imagine doing guror avajñā. But sometimes we don't realize that what is the proper etiquette? What are the considerations that one should have when dealing and behaving with the guru? So this is described by Srila Viśvanātha Chakravartī Ṭhākura, our Gurudev, and also the previous acharyas. And they quote so many different shlokas, some from Hari Bhakti Vilas, some from Srimad Bhagavatam, etc. So we'll try to go over those that the various acharyas have quoted. These are not due to my own research. This is due to the research of our previous Gurujanas. I'm simply taking those shlokas and presenting them in front of you. So in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, Sanatana Goswami says, Natam agyapayen mohat tasyagam na cha langayet na nivedya guru kinchid bhoktavyam va guros tatha.
Out of delusion, one should never order the guru. One should never disobey his order. One should not eat anything without offering it to the guru.
So I've made an error here. It should be Natam agyapayen mohat tasyagyam na cha langayet. So I mistakenly put mohat in the second line. But in any case, one should never make the mistake of ordering the guru. Sometimes a disciple, especially those that are serving in proximity to the guru, they may eventually develop a comfort such that they may order the guru. Hey, Gurudev, can you give me that glass of water? Oh, Gurudev, can you do this for me? Just out of casual or being very not mindful of the guru's position. In this way, one should never give an agya, and because that is moha, that is delusion. Then tasyagyam nacha langayet, if he doesn't take the order of the agya of his guru, one should never disobey the order. We just heard that. And then finally, na nivedya. Nivedya means grains or foodstuffs. He should never eat anything without offering it to the guru. That is why in the Gaudiya Vaishnav culture, After offering to Sri Radha Krishna and Mahaprabhu and his associates, we offer to Śrī Guru, who is also his associate. Then we take it as not just prasad, but Mahaprasad. Then also it is written in Hari Bhakti Vilas, Abhaktya na guror nama griniyacha yatatmavan pranavaha shristato nama Vishnu shabdad anantaram pada shabda sametam cha nata murdanjali yutaha.
One who is self-disciplined should never utter the Guru's name in a non-devotional way. Instead, one should respectfully pronounce it with proper honorifics, beginning with Om and Shri, followed by Vishnu and Pada, while bowing the head and offering obeisances with folded hands.
So many of our modern day preachers, they emphasize this, that when we take the name of our Gurudev, we should not just say, oh, for example, my Gurudev. Oh, actually, Narayan Maharaj said this, or Srila Narayan said this, or they might even say it to the previous acharyas. Oh, they first say Rupa Goswami said this. Then later in the text, Rupa said this, Jiva said this, Sanatan said this. So this is completely inappropriate. We should say, Jayam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajkacharya Astotar Shishimad Bhakti Vedant Srila Narayan Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Vedant Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, etc. And in this way, while bowing the head and putting, is described that one should put their hands in a folded position on the top of their forehead and offering their pranam to Śrī Guru. So one should be very careful to honor Śrī Guru every time one takes their name. Now, there are many different types of Guru sevaks, that is, disciples of Śrī Guru. And it is described that there are three broad categories of Guru sevaks. That is Uttam, Madhyam, and Kanishtha. Now, an Uttam sevak is described as someone like Srila Rupa Goswami. Oftentimes we hear the verse, Shri Chaitanya Manaha Bishtham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale. That is, Shri Chaitanya Manaha Bishta. That is, he understood the man, or the heart, the mind of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sthapitam Yena Bhutale. And then he established that innermost desire of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So an Uttam Sevak, like Srila Rupa Goswami, understands at all times, without needing to be told exactly what his Gurudev desires or requires. He is what they say, one step ahead. So he always knows what Śrī Guru desires, and he is always there before even the Guru expresses his will to execute such a seva. A Madhyam Sevak is one who can fulfill the Guru's desire after receiving a direct instruction from the Guru. So when the Guru says, please get me a glass of water, then he goes and gets the appropriate glass of water for the Guru. That's one example. Then finally, the Kanishta Sevak, that is the beginner Sevak, the lowest category. That is a person who, even after the Guru gives him an order, he is unable to execute that properly. So, dear devotees, if we are in the category of Kanishta Sevak, like myself, then certainly we should aspire to move towards the Madhyam and Uttam Sevak. Because until and unless one is Guru Deva Tatma, one in heart with the heart of Śrī Guru, then one cannot execute such service. Guru is given such importance in our Shastra and in our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, because when one develops love for the lotus feet of Guru, then one automatically, as described in the very first verse that we presented today, one automatically develops an intense desire to serve Śrī Radha and Krishna. So there's one book that has been released by GVP. This book is called The Principle of Śrī Guru and Service to Śrī Guru. And this was actually written by Sri Madhav Maharaj, who was a wonderful Guru Sevak. Many of the devotees in our particular Sangha, they have described it would be so foolish to think that the services of Sri Madhav Maharaj to Srila Gurudev could be considered in any shape or form as any Madhyam or Kanishta Sevak. He was an Uttam Sevak to Srila Gurudev. So he wrote this book because he was an embodiment of Guru Seva. Of course, many other of our sannyasis and preachers and many others within the Gaudiya Vaishnava lineage were Uttam Guru Sevaks. So in that case, in this book, he is quoting this verse, Alirbano Jyotishakaha Stabdi Bhutaha Kimekakaha Preshita Preshakaschaiva Shad Ete Sevakadamaha. So this verse is a very clever verse because it describes the 6 types of sevakas, or 6 types of servants, disciples, who are completely useless. So those 6 sevakas, excuse me, 6 disciples who are useless are described in a very funny way. And they're given an example for each of them. We'll just highlight a few of them. We'll tell about all 6, but we'll highlight some of them in more detail. The first one is an alir. An alir is known as a bee. So a useless disciple is one who is not loyal to the Guru, who, like a bee, jumps from flower to flower, trying to take nectar, but does not end up getting the nectar completely from one. So oftentimes we see those who take shelter of Guru, but then also jump around here and there. Oh, he has something nice to say. Oh, his philosophy, he's such a great scholar, as we described earlier. So those persons who are not loyal to their Guru, that Nama-tattva-vit Guru, those persons are like useless disciples. Now, another angle of vision that was given in this book of a bee is someone who tries to extract honey or nectar for their own advantage. So sometimes you'll see disciples, they may take shelter or they may remain in proximity of Guru. They may travel with the Guru, they may be with the Guru in the mat, etc. But ultimately, what are they actually looking for? My Gurudev gets to go all around the world. I too want to see the world, so let me start traveling with him. And devotees will honor me and feed me very nice prasad because I'm a Guru Sevak. So they'll give the nicest and choicest of prasad to my Gurudev, but because I'm sitting right next to him, I also will get that. Or when they give some dakshina to Gurudev, because I also am traveling with him, they will give some dakshina to me. So in this way, he's trying to always look for his own advantage while serving or attempting to serve Śrī Guru. In this way, he is a alir, a bee-like figure. The next useless disciple is described as a bano, that is an arrow. And an arrow, you can see in this picture, it is said that after an archer, even though he may be an expert archer, after he releases arrow after arrow after arrow, then sometimes we'll see, because the arrows are so sharp and even the part which the archer is holding the arrow, that is also very finely sharpened. Then when the archer releases the arrow also leaves a scratch on the finger of the archer. So a useless disciple is like that, who in turn, even though the Guru is supposed to use him in their service, he instead talks back or he criticizes the Guru and therefore hurts his heart. Another angle of vision of the arrow is that just as an archer shoots an arrow and that arrow does not come back, similarly, a useless disciple is one who takes shelter of the Guru, but then upon hearing maybe something that is not pleasing to his ear, or maybe some reprimanding, some correction from the Guru, he flies out the door and he never comes back. Or when the Guru gives him an order saying you should do this and you should do that, then he goes and says, yes, I will execute it, but then he is never to be seen again. So in this way, he is a useless disciple. Then the third, described as a Jyotishika. Now, Jyotish is astrology, or someone who looks at the appropriate time for auspicious undertakings. Now, someone who is a Jyotishika, that is someone who is always, when he hears the order of Guru, one should execute it immediately. But instead he says, you know, maybe when I get the money to do so, then I'll do it. Or, I need to develop a team, so let me go and find a team, and then I will execute the order of Śrī Guru. Or, I'm not ready for it. It doesn't seem like the right time. So I'll wait until situation is favorable. Then I will execute the order of Śrī Guru. So he is a procrastinator, and he never finds the right time to actually serve the Guru. Then it is described, the fourth type of useless disciple is someone who is just lazy. Someone who always remains confused, unable to understand what the Guru has to say. Or he's stabda, he's dull, and he's inactive. Then the fifth one is someone who acts and who lacks initiative or courage to act alone. Now, in the book My Beloved Masters, Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj describes so many of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Ṭhākura Prabhupada's disciples who, without delay, without thinking, oh, I need another person, oh, I need a team, they did so much seva for Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Ṭhākura Prabhupada without worrying whether they would be successful. They simply executed on the order of Śrī Guru, and with great courage, with great faith that if my Gurudev has instructed this, or this is my Gurudev's desire, then I must execute it. And taking it as a great order on their head, they accomplished so many sevas. Then finally, the sixth person, who is like a shifter, that person who gives responsibility to others. Gurudev says, please bring me a glass of juice. He says to the next person, Gurudev wants a glass of juice. That person then shifts it to another. By the time he comes around, what does the Gurudev end up getting? A glass of hot milk. So in this way, he's a shifter. So he shifts the responsibility to others because he doesn't want to do it themselves. So dear devotees, we should avoid becoming one of these six types of useless disciples, because Guru Nishtha is the backbone of bhakti. Our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, always emphasized this particular line. Guru Nishtha is the backbone of bhakti. Now, Damodar Prabhu, how important is the backbone to your body?
It keeps it functioning.
It keeps it functioning. They say you're only as old as your backbone. That is, someone who has a very strong backbone, someone who has a very strong support for their back, that person remains young and fresh. Similarly, Guru Nishtha, that person who has firm faith in Śrī Guru, that person is always protected in their path of bhakti. So Gurudev in this lecture says the following.
I explained that Guru Nishtha is the backbone of bhakti. Without Guru Nishtha, no one can have any kind of devotion. One may have taken initiation, but if there is no Nishtha, he is inferior to a person who has not taken initiation and has not had a fire sacrifice, but is actually following Guru.
So this is very clear. And then he continues.
On the contrary, I see so many other disciples who are hiding things in their hearts from Guru. They think, my Guru doesn't know anything. He is foolish, so I can cheat him. They don't say this directly, but they think in this way. They think they can bluff their Guru or any pure devotee. But in reality, a pure devotee cannot be bluffed. He who can control Krishna, how can you bluff him? If he is really Guru, he can never be cheated or bluffed.
So in this way, Śrī Guru can see the past, present, and future of his disciple. So if one is so foolish to think that, oh, my Gurudev is an ordinary human being, then in this way he is completely foolish. So this video also describes such an instruction by Srila Gurudev.
यदि कोई व्यक्ति कहता है जी गुरु जी आप हमें जानते नहीं है कि मैं कैसे कैसे रहता हूँ और क्या करता हूँ, तो ये क्या हुआ? गुरु जान करके भी और भगवान जैसा भाव नहीं आया। जब इतना ही भाव नहीं आया तो फिर क्या हुआ? इसलिए ऐसा कभी मत समझना गुरु जी हमारे जैसे एक मनुष्य है, हमारे मन की भावनाओं को नहीं जानते हैं। उनको जो जानना है वो देख करके सकल सूरत से ही वो बतला देंगे। तुम्हारे एक विचार को टटोल करके देखेंगे और ये इसमें ये गड़बड़ी है बतला देंगे वो सब। इसलिए गुरु जी को मत बुद्धि कभी मत देखो, भले ही वो मध्यम अधिकारी के हो, जैसे भी हो उनके प्रति ऐसा, नहीं तो परमार्थी सिद्धि नहीं होता।
In this way, Srila Gurudev is describing Guru Nishtha. And other acharyas, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, gives the same understanding.
He says that fixed up resolution. If we become fixed up in this resolution that whatever we have heard from my Guru, the representative of Krishna, I must execute it. I do not care for my personal convenience or inconvenience. This is my life and soul. Then your life is perfect. If I make some amendment, addition, alteration in the name of Krishna, Guru, then it is spoiled. No, we should receive the instruction as it is.
So this is continuing. And then he quotes a verse. Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tatha guru tasyeta katitha yarta prakashante mahatmanaha.
Unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the Guru, all the imports of Vedic knowledge are automatically revealed.
So both are required. Not only should we have faith in Yasya Deve, that is Shri Bhagavan, but also Yatha Deve Tatha Guru, in the same way also to Shri Guru. Then further verses are being quoted. Let's just read the translation for the sake of time.
If Sri Krishna is displeased with someone, the Guru can protect him. But if the Guru is dissatisfied with someone, there is no shelter for him. Therefore, one should carefully endeavor to properly please one's Guru.
All right. So that concludes the third Nama-aparādha, guror avajñā. And I think it's abundantly clear from all of these references that disobeying the order of Śrī Guru is our own misfortune. So let us move on to the fourth Nama-aparādha. This will be a little shorter discussion. The fourth Nama-aparādha is śruti-śāstra-nindanam. That is to blaspheme or criticize the Vedic literature. Now last time we understood the root word nindana or ninda, that is to publicly criticize, or even, as our acharyas say, to begin to criticize even within one's own mind. Now, Damodar Prabhu, could you imagine yourself criticizing Shastra?
I can, unfortunately.
You can, okay. So most of us find it that we would never dare to criticize Shastra. The holy books, no, those are untouchable. But why is this Nama-aparādha given? And why do our acharyas give such importance to this? Even though it is not the perhaps external tendency, or the devotees are not saying it out loud that, oh, this Shastra is like that, I don't believe in this Shastra, etc. They may not externally say that, but as Gurudev said in that last quotation, they may internally feel this way. Or they mistakenly may criticize some Shastras because they don't understand it in full. So even though one may in their hearts, when they read śruti-śāstra-nindanam, they say, oh, I don't commit such a Nama-aparādha. But we should understand how we may subtly do that. So in this, I'll take shelter of Srila Viśvanātha Ṭhākura, And he's really, really hounding on how some devotees make the mistake of criticizing some Vedic literature.
Some persons blaspheme the shrutis that recommend the path of fruitive action, or karma, and monistic knowledge, jnana, saying, these shrutis do not even touch devotional service to Bhagavan. They are superficial and thus abhorrent.
So, hey, they talk about doing these yagyas to get a good husband or good wife or to get wealth, etc. Or they talk about the impersonal Brahman. What a waste. They are a waste of time. They are completely superficial. They have no use. So in this way, many devotees in some, we say in Hindi, josh, like in some some enthusiasm for bhakti, they start minimizing other shastras. But Srila Viśvanātha Chakravartī Ṭhākura clarifies, no, this is not correct.
If rather than using their speech in this way to blaspheme the shrutis, they use it to repeatedly glorify those same shrutis and their adherents, all the while remaining immersed in nama-sankirtan, they can be absolved of the fourth offense to the holy name, to blaspheme the Vedic literatures.
So he's telling us do the exact opposite. Remain dedicated to Nam Sankirtan, but instead glorify these same shrutis. Now, Damodar Prabhu, why do you think he tells us that? After all, we're not to read so much or study so much the quote-unquote karmi literature or the jnani literature. Why would he say this?
Well, because we have a tendency to criticize that literature, he has to tell us not to.
Yes, he's telling us not to, but why do you think he might tell us that? Why do you think we shouldn't criticize such literature?
Because that's still transcendental knowledge that's alive and from the spiritual realm.
Yes, so definitely it has been written by Vedavyas himself, the four Vedas, the other Shrutis, the Itihasas, the Puranas. They have been written and they are transcendental literature. But also he goes into saying that he gives us an idea of the nature of such Vedic literature. After all, Sri Vedavyas, he wrote the four Vedas, he wrote all the Puranas, and he also wrote Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, of course, take shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam, and it is Amala Puran, that is the spotless Puran, the topmost Puran. But that's not to say that whatever else he wrote is completely useless. And he describes why.
If by immense good fortune such offenders to the Vedic literatures obtain the association of exalted saintly personalities who are conversant with the full import of the shrutis and hear from them, the offenders can understand that these supremely compassionate shrutis are meant for wayward people who are strongly attached to sense gratification and unqualified for the path of bhakti.
So when somebody comes into contact with a person who knows the entire Shastra, he knows the import of all the Shrutis, then you will see our previous Acharyas, none of them criticize any transcendental literature. Even if that literature results in pious activities, results in benefits of the material world, etc. Because our Vedic literature is very broad-minded. When Vedavyas wrote this, he wrote it for everyone. Now, Damodar Prabhu, everyone means everyone or only the devotees?
It means even the non-devotees.
Even the non-devotees. Even the, as Srimati Shamarani Dida says, Gurudev, even for the butchers? Even for the murderers? And Gurudev said, even for the butchers, even for the murderers. That is, if we were to go to, for example, a prison where it is full of murderers, and we go to them and we say, "Oh, Prabhu, just chant Hare Krishna, everything will be fine." What are the chances that they would accept this, Damodar Prabhu?
Pretty close to zero.
Pretty close to zero. Only a very rare person might accept this from the first time. But if we went to them and we explain to them what is given in the Vedic literature, saying, oh, because of such harsh karma that you did, harsh activities that you did, you will definitely pay the price. So at least if you can come to the understanding of the principle of karma, that you should not kill animals, you should not kill others, because whatever you may do to them, they will eventually also do to you. Then they may open their ears and say, oh, well, that sounds like the golden rule, that whatever goes around comes around, right? Then they
Right.
may say, oh, at least I should fix myself up, that I don't kill animals, I don't commit murder. That much is very helpful for them on this path of pure bhakti. Everyone starts from somewhere, and the Vedic literature takes anyone from any condition and helps them start on the spiritual path. So just because they may not take on the path of pure bhakti from the very get-go, still the Vedic literature is open for all, even the butchers, even the murderers.
He continues, the Shrutis endeavor to bring such people to the path sanctioned by Scripture. With this understanding, the aparadha arising from such blasphemy is eradicated by appropriate efforts. The causes and destruction of the other six aparadhas can also be understood in accordance with the elucidations of the first four offenses.
So as we learn in Satam Ninda, don't criticize any devotee. So much so that Gurudev says, don't criticize anyone. So when this tendency of criticizing persons, especially those who are taking shelter of any of the transcendental literatures, and especially those who are Vaishnavas, who are following the path of bhakti. Similarly, the same aparadha, don't criticize that literature which is transcendental, even if it discusses topics other than pure bhakti. So Srila Viśvanātha Chakravartī Ṭhākura is trying to remove this tendency of ours to criticize, because when we start criticizing, then the next six aparadhas that we will discuss also take place. So if we can control these first four, that is criticizing Lord Shiva and the other Devi Devtas, criticizing the devotee or the satam, the sadhus, criticizing the shastra, etc. When we understand this, and of course criticizing nam itself, or criticizing the guru who gives that nam, then we can avoid the rest of the offenses. This is why the four offenses, the first four, are given such importance. All right. Now the final part, I know the class is getting a little lengthy, so we'll just end very quickly. That some people ask, well, what does Shastra include? Sure, I understand that Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, the other Bhakti Shastras, they're Shastra. But this verse from the Upanishads gives us a clear understanding of what is Shastra in full. So Prabhu, let's read the translation here.
The Aparadha includes Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda, Shiksha or phonetics, Kalpa, manuals on Vedic sacrifices, Vyakarana, Sanskrit grammar, Nirukta, etymology, Chanda or prosody, and Jyotish, Vedic astronomy and astrology. The Paravidya includes Vedanta, Upanishads, etc., by which one obtains the absolute truth, from Mundaka Upanishad 1.5.
Thank you, Prabhu. So when śruti-śāstra-nindanam, we have to be very careful that all of these are considered as paravidya, that is shastra. And so here, even things like, for example, some devotees may not like Jyotish, or some may say, oh, well, we don't need to pay attention to that. That's fine if you don't want to take shelter or pay attention to it. But to criticize and minimize it is inappropriate. I will give one example of what Srila Viśvanātha Chakravartī Ṭhākura is talking about. How different areas of the Shastra attract different persons and tell them to begin on the path of eventually reaching pure devotional service. So I'll share a personal story and then we'll end up here. So actually, this past time when I went to India, I met my cousin, and my cousin is, what most would consider kind of a general, let's say, Hindu, or not really a devotee or practicing bhakti or performing any sadhan bhajan. So in this way, he's, tied up in his daily life between work and family, etc. But he was telling me that, oh, things have really, I asked him how he was doing, how things are, and he said things have really gone well recently. And I said, oh, really? What happened? And he said, actually what happened is by chance, one of my friends who is a Jyotish and Vastu consultant, he came to our house after many, many years. And he came to our house, and I'll just share exactly what he said. He came to our house and told us that the place where you have placed your toilet, your bathroom, is inappropriate. It is on the Agni Mula of the Vastu Purush. And so I really recommend, if you believe me, that just avoid using this toilet. Don't use this toilet from now on. You have so many toilets in your home, just use any other one. Because in this way, Vastu Purush will not be pleased, and it gives a bad energy, a bad result to you. So by chance, my cousin generally doesn't believe this, but the Vastu friend of his, Vastu consultant friend of his, he said, just try it for 1 week and you see if you feel any difference. So my cousin agreed, and of course they did not use that toilet for the next week. Now, 1 week later, he was describing to me how he felt that the energy of his home and how so many good things started happening within his life. And he said, normally I don't believe in this kind of thing, but somehow in my head it clicked. And somehow I have this feeling in my heart that this stuff is real. So because of that, then I said, yes, Prabhu, after all, it is in our Vedic literature. Jyotish and Vastu are not ordinary things. They are an exact science. Just because there may not be a perfect Jyotish that you found, maybe you don't believe in the particular astrologer, but that does not mean the Jyotish Shastra is incorrect. So when he heard this, then I said one more thing, of course, to try to encourage him on the path of bhakti. I said, can you imagine that personality who wrote this Shastra? In conclusion, he wrote Srimad Bhagavatam and declared that pure bhakti is the essence of all Vedic literature. Therefore, if one takes shelter of pure bhakti towards Sri Radha Krishna, then one can understand all Vedic literature and receive even tremendous spiritual benefit. Forget about such material benefit. So he heard this and he became open-minded to such literature and the path of bhakti. And that person who was not inclined towards the path of bhakti, just last week, I received a message that, he calls me by my Sachin. He calls me Sachin. He says, Sachin, we're actually going to Vrindavan. And I became very joyous and happy. And I said, make sure you go in the company of any devotee to guide you. So in this way, Srila Viśvanātha Chakravartī Ṭhākura's conclusion here is that in order to bring wayward people, that is, people who may not be following the path of pure bhakti, into eventually getting them to the path of bhakti. Perhaps my cousin may come in the path of bhakti this life, or maybe due to the sukriti of just going to Sri Dham Vrindavan. Eventually he may meet a sadhu and he may come on the path of pure bhakti. This is the essence of why we should not criticize shrutis and shastras. So let us not engage in any sort of criticism of the 4 Vedic literatures, the 4 Vedas, and even those that are known as the 5th Veda, the Puranas and the Upanishads, etc. Because the nature of Vedic literature is very broad-minded. Never you will hear in the Vedic literature, if you do not believe in us, you will be eternally damned to hell. Or if you do not follow us, we will chop off your head and you will suffer. No, the Vedic literature understands the cycle of birth and death, that we've been traversing through this for time immemorial, and that eventually, by the contact of the purest Vedic literature, by a pure sadhu, one can completely turn around their faith, and from any condition, they can go to the highest condition, that is pure bhakti. So with that, we'll conclude that our Upanishads are welcoming to all. And we've all heard this term Vasudeva Kutumbakam, that is, the whole world is one family. Such is the broad-mindedness, such is the thinking of our Vedic literature. Therefore, we should not criticize it. Even if we don't take particular shelter of that, we should definitely not criticize it. So with that, we'll conclude here. I'm sorry that the class is a little bit longer than usual, but we covered 2 Nama-aparadhas today, so that is a good success. We'll think of it that way. And I hope that you all found this useful. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. If anything good has been said, that's because I'm simply reading, and Damodar Prabhu is reading very nicely the words of the previous acharyas in our Shastra. If any mistake has been made, that is certainly my own misinterpretation. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Sachin, for another wonderful class. I mean, you're taking so much time and energy to so thoughtfully present these complex topics. So I know it's helping me and helping so many others. So thank you.
Thank you, Damodar Prabhu. That's my happiness if that is the case. Thank you so much.
Well, it is. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask now. Just go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams to you, Damodar and Sachin. This is Surabhi Brijesh from Oregon, just back from India for the first time. Dandavat Pranams. And
Dandavat Pranam,
we just,
Didi and
we
Prabhu.
just,
Nice to hear
so we
from
just
you.
tuned in, and we just want to thank you. And it just makes our hearts feel so warm, and it helps us to understand how just not having any criticism, everyone is at whatever level we all are. And just really, this is a love and sweetness path, just to be completely loving, supportive, and helpful. And what was it that we had heard that everyone is at different levels. Some are preschool, some are graduate school, but we're all students. And just to help everyone as much as we can with love and with lots of appreciation. So I wanted to thank you so much for having this class, and we're so happy to be able to join again.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Didi. I hope you had a wonderful time in India.
It was incredible. It's beyond amazing, and we're so blessed. We feel so grateful.
Well, I'm requesting then that you shower your blessings on this preschooler that we may continue.
I'm not even in preschool yet.
Well, you are certainly far beyond that. That's why. And I request that, yes, Didi, your point is so well taken, that we are not a fear and punishment-based philosophy. We are a love and affection-based philosophy. And I can say that Srila Gurudev came to, the West, in particular for my own example, he came to not forget about preschool, where we didn't even know how to walk and wipe our own bottoms. And he nourished us and brought us on this path of pure bhakti. So if the gurus, the acharyas, are so merciful, then why shouldn't the followers be also? So in this way, thank you very much, Didi, for sharing that.
Oh, thank you. Bless you. Bless you all, and bless everyone on this call. And may we all help however we're guided, because we're all being used in some way, no matter where we're at. That's what we're understanding. So bless you, and thank you so much.
And I feel if you help someone, you will be helped in return. It's in that respect, you could look at it as for your own benefit, because what you put out, you will get back.
Definitely. Nothing goes unrewarded. Absolutely. So thank you very much, Prabhu, also for that.
Oh, Hare Krishna.
If anyone else has any further question or any comment, a mistake, pointing out a mistake, please do so.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for this beautiful presentation. It's very helpful. Could you please share in the group the sheets that you shared today?
Oh, the slides?
Shlokas.
Yes, I can share the slides. They'll come on a PDF. I'll put that in the group right after, and you can definitely use them as reference. Wonderful. I'll be happy to do that.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, so we'll end here today. Thank you very much again, dear devotees, for attending today's session. And we will continue next week with the 5th and 6th Nama-aparādha. So I pray that we all become free from such Nama-aparādhas so that we may at least move to the stage of Nama-abhas and certainly towards that goal of Shuddha Nam Bhajan. Hare Krishna. Śrīla Gurudev ki jai, Śrīla Rupa Goswami ki